Back down on my knees. Oh, there been times when I was less alone. Now I think I'm able to. Hi. Hello. But I know. You like the Beatles? I do like the Beatles. Really? Yeah. Shocking, I know. You'd never guess it. Oh, that's not my password. Just kidding. I love that book. I haven't read it in a really long time, but it's a fun one. I can be back down on my knees. Whoa, there been times when I thought. Hi. Hi. Hello, Ash. How's it going? I could last alone. Now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming. I'm good. Thank you.
That was it. Yeah. This guy, he had 7.1 points. Then he got hurt in the fourth quarter.
For you?
No, he was playing for another team. He had Harris.
He's here. He's here.
He got hurt like midway through the fourth quarter.
Okay.
And they come back. So, and I played Justin Jackson from the Chargers. And he got me 0 points.
Exactly.
And I had, I could just play, what is this, Singletary or Miller? I would want. Ridiculous.
Still, Lindsay's good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're fine. I'm waiting on people to get in the Zoom, so. Huh? Oh my gosh. Uh-huh.
I love coffee.
Me too.
I actually hate coffee.
Do you?
I just do not like it.
Mr. Mike made me coffee last week.
I love it. I have like, I bring an electric kettle and do a French press because we don't have, we used to have like a Keurig, but we don't anymore.
I think we had a bunch of recipes, so
Yeah.
that's the good one. So like,
Yeah, like the press thing.
What I get from Starbucks is basically the frappuccinos without the coffee.
I get the smooth version. That is so good.
It is good.
There's like super good one, which is butterbeer frappuccino. That is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like pink drinks.
You do like what?
Pink drinks.
Oh yeah, I too. They're good.
Oh, I can't do the comparison thing. It's blocked.
It's blocked? What the heck? I can't
I had a
imagine.
tab open, so if you want to see.
Yeah.
I clicked on, it was both playing games for the lyrics and the explanation.
Okay.
Who is that? James over there?
Yeah,
Alyssa, move your head.
James.
Oh, okay.
While I'm waiting on a few people to get in the room, I have a couple of reminders for you guys. The first one, Ms. Cokel asked me to remind you guys to turn in your SAT, ACT choice letter.
Yeah.
What in the world? What's going
no,
on?
it's like, yeah.
That's so weird. Does it do that if you do it from home too?
Oh my God, I'm checking at home.
Hmm?
I'm checking at home.
Okay. I mean, that's fine if you want to, but the other thing is, oh, hang on, I'm letting some people in the room. Those of you who just came into the room, I was just saying that Ms. Kokel had asked me to remind you guys to turn in your SAT, ACT choice letter. They have to be turned in before Thanksgiving, like before you leave for Thanksgiving, because she has to get them turned in. So
When do we leave for Thanksgiving?
So Monday you do technically have school, but it is a virtual day. So probably most of your teachers will have assignments like finish what you were working on or catch up on stuff, and your attendance will be determined by that, whether you do the so you don't actually come to school. If you're somebody who comes to school, you don't come to school on Monday, but technically you do have.
So it's like an e-learning day?
On Monday. Yeah. But like I said, I kind of expect that teachers will go easy on you that day because everybody wants to be on vacation already. The other thing I was gonna mention is student council, which you've probably, if you have been in the building, you've probably seen flyers for it. But if you are interested in being on student council, email Miss Sale, and I'll put her email address in the thing. Charterschool.org.
It's 11 o'clock.
Thank you. We'll soon be voting on like class presidents and stuff like that. So if you're interested in doing student council, email Miss Sale and she'll have more info about it. Where's Randall been?
Randall disappeared off the face of this planet.
Oh, I hope that's not true. I really like his presence on this planet.
What is that? That way to want to see me if I'm president.
Okay, I'm just doing attendance.
I think the best way I can put it is he's taking time for himself right this second.
He's practicing self-care.
Yeah.
Is that all we need to do?
No, we're watching stuff today, LeBron.
Cheeses, crackers.
But yeah, so Miss McClellan, so we gotta turn that thing. I think Miss Cole could send me that.
Yeah.
I look at my email again.
Yeah. I don't really know what that thing is, but she did ask me to.
All right.
So I'll mention this again at the end, but tomorrow I have to be out for a training. So we won't actually meet on Zoom tomorrow. Like I said, we're going to watch the videos today of the several Edgar Allan Poe stories, and you're going to have a response to write about that tomorrow. And again, I'll mention this again later and probably send you an email about it, but there will be a discussion post to write about it, and your discussion post is your attendance for the day. So I'll be putting in attendance at the end of the day tomorrow, and if you don't have the discussion post done, you get marked absent for the day, which is how we're supposed to work e-learning days anyway. But I haven't really done one in quite some time. So, okay, are we ready to watch some Edgar Allan Poe?
Are we gonna watch the Vincent one?
Or the Telltale Heart.
No, Vincent. We read the Telltale Heart yesterday.
We did.
I thought we got to watch it.
But listen, there's so many variations on that visual. I think we should just watch Vincent, and then like maybe.
You just want to watch Vincent, don't you?
I do want to watch Vincent. I want to watch it with you guys because I think it's such a cinematic masterpiece. It honestly deserves an enemy. So.
Oh, you care about us. Fine.
No, I care about the movie. There are a few people in this class I could really care less for, but I know that.
Me?
Yes, especially you. You one of the main folks. But listen,
I love everybody.
Oh, well, you love everybody. I don't love everybody. I am selective on my love. I don't give my love to just anybody. You know what I mean? But listen, that's not the funnest conversation. I think Vincent deserves an Emmy. It's so well animated, and it's such a well story. Exactly, Miss McClellan. We're watching Vincent first.
We're not watching Vincent first. We're watching Vincent last.
Last? What do you mean last?
Last. We're watching 3 things, and that's the last one.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
If y'all had stopped talking, you'd have heard me say that earlier.
When did you say that? You said you were talking about announcements for like 5 minutes once we call.
Well, then I stopped. And y'all
Oh.
were talking.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get this going. I'm trying to figure this out so that they can watch it in here too. And for some reason, it's like being really goofy. What's going on? This is not my desktop. Huh. You know what? Hang on. I might know what's going on.
You should make me the host if you leave. I'm really good at being the host.
I'm not leaving.
Oh. If you do leave, I'm a great host. What's it called?
Okay. So first we are going to watch The Telltale Heart because since we read it yesterday, I wanted you guys to see a visual of it. Especially this one is really cool. And then we're going to watch Fall the House of Usher. And then we'll watch Vincent, which I'll kind of like explain a little bit between each one. But I know, right? But I'm going to share my screen with you guys in just a moment. And you guys will be able to watch it here. Alyssa, you don't even technically have to be signed into the call, but you can be. Let me get this screen shared. Being so strange today. Share screen. And I'll stop between each one and kind of talk about it a little bit. This first one, I'm going to go ahead and stop my video so that you're not seeing me and so that I can minimize this on the screen. There we go. Do you guys see it?
Yes. Oh, we're watching the. Yep. I like this. I like this one.
That's it.
Okay. So this is starting right at the beginning of Telltale Heart. This one is pretty short. The second one is a little bit longer, but we'll be able to watch all 3 things. We're not watching. I always have a hard time remembering the title of this one. Something about M. Valdemar. It's like that guy's name. Mask of the Red Death and Pit and the Pendulum. Is what we're watching. All right.
Oh, wait, never.
Can you guys hear it?
I'm hearing a little echo.
It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain. But once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object? There was none. For I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. And for his money, I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, that was it. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture. I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution and foresight I went to work. And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch on his door and opened it. When my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And I found the eye always goes. And so it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me. It was his evil eye. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. And I found the eye always closed. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. When I was about to open the lantern, my thumb slipped upon the thin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" He had been trying to fancy them causeless. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor." But all in vain. Then there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew the sound well. It was the beating of the old man's heart. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and louder every instant. The old man's hour had come. He shrieked once, only once. The old man was dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you will think no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the walls so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye could detect anything wrong. The 3 men who introduced themselves as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night, and they had been deputed to search the premises. I bade the gentlemen welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man, I mentioned, was absent in the country. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. But ere long, I felt myself getting pale, and I wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. I found that the noise was not within my ears. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. Why did they not be gone? God, what could I do? All it's possible they heard. No. They heard. They suspected. They knew. They were making mockery of my horror. villains! I agree. I admit the deed. Tear up the flanks. Here! Here! It is the breathing of his hideous heart.
Okay. So I just really liked that rendition, mostly because I think the animation is really cool. They do some really interesting things with like the like doing the 3 guys instead of 2, but like having them all be the same, the officers at the end. I know, right? He looks scarier than, like, when I read the story, I don't picture that kind of guy in my head. He looks scarier in this. I also like the fact that the only color they used was the red for the blood. That's pretty cool. I'm going to unplug this for one quick second, so it might stop sharing, but I'm hoping I can get the sound to come through the screen.
Miss McClellan.
What?
When I think of the guy who's saying, like, I am not crazy, the narrator, I kind of picture him as a normal guy.
Yeah, me too. But
like, you think he looked creepy, but just depict like someone who's just really normal.
Yeah. What were you going to say, James, about it? Played. Mm-hmm.
Well, I noticed 2 things. One, the scope. One of the police's eye.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And then in the end, when he looked in the glasses, it showed his face on the old man's face.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. I like that reading of it. Okay, I'm going to actually rewind this and go back to the first one. So just like not wanting to let me. Okay, this is just a little intro thing. It'll play in just a second. But this is The Fall of the House of Usher. This is also one of his most famous ones. This is a little bit longer. The story itself, if we read it, is actually like really pretty long. But it has a lot of those Gothic conventions that we talked about yesterday in the notes. So just be thinking about that as we're watching it, because like I said, you'll be writing about it tomorrow. So, just keep an eye out and see what of those Gothic conventions you might notice.
Hey, that looks like you. You know that? Like if you...
What?
Yeah. Look at Kate's profile picture. It looks like him. The man from the Telltale Heart. Like if Kate were... Yeah, it makes sense. Like if Kate were to like put his hair back and just like make a weird smile, I think it would look like him.
I see it. All right, this is going to have a little bit of an intro, but better to start it a minute too early than not be able to find it. Walking through.
You have no clue to who I am.
We can't see it though.
Oh my God, you're right. I forgot to keep sharing my screen. I'm a dummy. Oh. I should be able to, like, where's my little menu bar? All I have is mute and... Where is it? Well, I could do it this way if nothing else. Or I should be able to. Like disappeared for a second.
The woman.
Okay, that's actually kind of a long intro, so I'm
It was a magical place that filled my childhood with visions to stir the imagination. And now, during the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of another year, I was alone, passing through a singularly dreary tract of country, and at length found myself within reach of the melancholy house of Usher. With my first glimpse of the house after so long, an unexpected sense of insufferable gloom pervaded my spirit. What was it? What unnerved me so in the contemplation of the house of Usher? Its proprietor, Roderick Usher, had been one of my boon companions in boyhood, but many years had elapsed since our last meeting. His letter, however, had lately reached me in a distant part of the country. I scanned more narrowly the real aspect of the building. Its principal feature seemed to be that of an excessive antiquity. The writer spoke of acute bodily illness, of a mental disorder which oppressed him and brought an earnest desire to see me as his best and indeed his only personal friend, in an attempt to alleviate some of his malady, and I accordingly obeyed forthwith what I still considered a very singular and haunting summons. I gazed upon him with a feeling half of pity, half of awe. Frederick, my dear friend, I have, after all this time, been waiting for your arrival. I at first thought it to be an overdone cordiality. It was with difficulty that I could bring myself to admit the identity of the man being before me as the companion of my early boyhood. He entered into what he conceived to be the nature of his malady. Most insipid food was alone endurable. The odors of all flowers prove oppressive. His eyes were tortured by even a faint light. And there were but peculiar sounds which inspired him with horror. I began to question my worthiness of being present for my friend, who now existed in a world of which I held no key. I shall perish. I dread the events of the future. I feel that the period will sooner or later arrive when I must abandon life and reason together in some struggle with the grim phantasm. Fear. But what do you fear, Roderick? I must know, what is it that torments your every moment? I admit that much of the peculiar gloom which afflicts me could be traced to a severe and long-continued illness. I speak of my tenderly beloved sister, Madeleine, my sole companion for so many long years, my last and only relative on earth. Roderick spoke with such bitterness which made me shudder. And yet, I could tell of his complete devotion towards his sister. Madeleine, her decease will leave me as the last of the ancient race of the Ushers. His voice trembled as he recounted how even in her youth, Madeleine would fear the outside world. Roderick loved his sister for her purity, but the foreboding dooms forever present. The Usher's life of loneliness will mean there will be no heir. But on the closing in of the evening of my arrival at the house, she succumbed to the prostrating power of destroyer. She is dead. Madeleine has died. She has left me. At the request of Roderick Usher, I personally aided him in the arrangements for the temporary entombment. And now, some days of bitter grief having elapsed, an observable change came over the features of the mental disorder of my friend. At times, again, I was obliged to resolve all into the mere inexplicable vagaries of madness. For I beheld him gazing upon vacancy for long hours, in an attitude of the profoundest attention, as if listening to some imaginary sound. It was no wonder that his terrifying condition was creeping upon me. The wild influence of his fantastic yet impressive superstitions. And you have not seen it? You must behold this. I hear it and have heard it. We have put her living in the tomb. I now tell you that I heard the first few movements in the hollow coffin. I heard them many, many days ago. Yet I dare not speak. The rending of her coffin and the grating of the iron hinges of her prison and her struggles within the coppered archway of the vault. Come, it is the storm that draws breath, playing tricks on us both. Is she not hurrying to upbraid me for my haste? Have I not heard her footsteps on the stairs? Have I not and heart beating? Madman! Madman! I tell you that she now stands without the door. The vision before me will stay, burnt into my very soul, and haunt me to the end of my days. Where I gazed, the house once stood. I saw the mighty walls rushing, as under there was a long, tumultuous shouting sound, like the voice of 1,000 waters. And the deep and dank tarn at my feet closed sullenly and silently over the fragments of the house of Usher.
The end. So that one, I think that one is a really cool example of a lot of different Gothic conventions. It's got some obvious dark versus light stuff, which anytime you have an adaptation of a Gothic story, cinematically they will usually do some dark versus light stuff. You've got her kind of in a liminal space when we're not sure if she's alive or dead. You've got, I guess you could say she was sort of grotesque at the end. What's the other one I was thinking of?
I don't know what happened.
You can go back and watch it. This is on Tubi TV, which is free. the fact that they were twins, that kind of plays into the double/doppelganger thing. So
I
just
did
kind of
notice as she started dying more,
Mhm.
the house started waking more.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one. Deterioration. Both the house and the person were deteriorating. Okay, so this other one that we're going to watch that Cece recommended is not actually a Poe story. It's got some shout outs to Poe in it, but I thought it would be good to watch it anyway. I watched it last night, and there are definitely it's definitely inspired by Gothic conventions and by some Gothic literature, which clearly, like, if they're mentioning Poe, that's kind of a given. But just the animation and the story, it all definitely plays into all these things that we've been learning about. So even though it's not actually a story of the Romantic era, it's got a lot of Romantic and Gothic influence. So we're gonna have just enough time. Come on, little guy, move away. Yeah, 6 minutes. That's totally fine.
Vincent Malloy is 7 years old. He's always polite and does what he's told. For a boy his age, he's considerate and nice. But he wants to be just like Vincent Price. He doesn't mind living with his sister, dog, and cats, though he'd rather share a home with spiders and bats. There he could reflect on the horrors he's invented and wander dark hallways alone and tormented. Vincent is nice when his aunt comes to see him, but imagines dipping her in wax for his wax museum. He likes to experiment on his dog, Abercrombie, in the hopes of creating a horrible zombie. So he and his horrible zombie dog could go searching for victims in the London fog. His thoughts, though, aren't only of ghoulish crime. He likes to paint and read to pass some of the time. While other kids read books like Go, Jane, Go, Vincent's favorite author is Edgar Allan Poe. One night, while reading a gruesome tale, he read a passage that made him turn pale. Such horrible news he could not survive, for his beautiful wife had been buried alive. He dug out her grave to make sure she was dead, unaware that her grave was his mother's flower bed. His mother sent Vincent off to his room. He knew he'd been banished to the Tower of Doom, where he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life alone with the portrait of his beautiful wife. While alone and insane, encased in his doom, Vincent's mother burst suddenly into the room. She said, "If you want to, you can go out and play. It's sunny outside and a beautiful day." Vincent tried to talk, but he just couldn't speak. The years of isolation had made him quite weak. So he took out some paper and scrawled with a pen, "I am possessed by this house and can never leave it again." His mother said, "You're not possessed and you're not almost dead. These games that you play are all in your head. You're not Vincent Price, you're Vincent Malloy. You're not tormented or insane, you're just a young boy. You're 7 years old and you are my son. I want you to get outside and have some real fun." Her anger now spent, she walked out through the hall. And while Vincent backed slowly against the wall, the room started to sway, to shiver and creak. His horrid insanity had reached its peak. He saw Abercrombie, his zombie slave, and heard his wife call from beyond the grave. She spoke from her coffin and made ghoulish demands, while through cracking walls reached skeleton hands. Every horror in his life that had crept through his dreams swept his mad laughter to terrified screams. To escape the madness, he reached for the door, but fell limp and lifeless down on the floor. His voice was soft and very slow as he quoted The Raven from Edgar Allan Poe. "And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore."
Okay. Oh, another cool thing that I just thought of while I was watching that was that all three of these were narrated by like kind of famous horror people. I mean, I don't know if you guys actually know Vincent Price, but he was like the king of horror back in the day. Like he was in the original The Haunting of Hill House. He was in yeah, I know you don't. He was also in Edward Scissorhands. I don't know if you guys have seen that, and if not, you should. It's such a good movie. Um, but he was like the old inventor who made Edward Scissorhands. He was in House of Wax. He was like the original one, obviously. He was in a ton of stuff. The first, the Telltale Heart was narrated by Bela Lugosi, who was the original guy who played Dracula back in the 30s or 40s. And then The Fall of the House of Usher was narrated by Christopher Lee, who's also been in a ton of horror movies. He was Dracula in the 70s. Y'all might actually know him because he's been in a ton of stuff. He was Count Dooku in Star Wars, and he was Saruman in Lord of the Rings. So all of these, like, I just put it together afterwards that we watched like all these super famous horror men. So that's pretty cool. So tomorrow, and I'll email you guys about this tonight because I can kind of tell from my first class that they were not going to remember what I said. But I will email you guys tonight just to remind you that we're not meeting on Zoom tomorrow and to let you know what you're going to be doing. And again, and I'll include this in the email, but in order to get credit for being present tomorrow in class, you do have to turn in the discussion post. So, and the discussion post will have to do with what we watched today. Anything for the good of the group before I let you guys go?
No.
Nope. Okie doke. Well, I will see you guys Thursday then.